Action! Compulsive gambling is about action, not money. A gambler needs his fix just like any other addict. In the depths of my compulsive gambling, I got high off the lines. I loved betting on football, basketball, baseball, and horse racing. Seeing the odds got me off. I could stay high the entire day before placing my bet later on that night, or all week if it was football. Then I would call my bookie and place the bet all week. Then I had to settle up each week, collector pay, and of course keep betting each day. Each week was survival. Protect the winnings and figure out how to pay the losses. Let's get back to the high. Seeing the lines made me level, normal. I could continue my day. Yes, I worked, had relationships, spent time with family and friends. You see, I was in an even state because I was high off the lines. Many different forms of gambling, and each gambler has their own way how to get high off gambling. The high can be looking at the betting lines, betting sheets, seeing in one's mind the cards being dealt, or hearing the slot machines, the bells, the coins, or even running to the store to scratch off. A gambler is high before actually placing the bet. The rush to bet creates excitement, purpose to life. Sad, the compulsive gambler's purpose is to bet, to be in action. Everything else is secondary. Changing your purpose, change your life. That is nearly an impossible act. Good news, it can be done with help. You cannot do it yourself. Sports, casino, horse and dog tracks, scratch-off, eight-liners, bingo, lottery, online gambling. Society has now accepted gambling. Gambling was a seedy activity for 100 years, from 1880 to 1980. The only gambling was in Las Vegas, which started in 1931, or Atlantic City in 1978. And you also had horse tracks, playing your numbers, and those secret doors that led to card games, and the phone calls to bookies. Everything changed because of Iowa. Gambling became visible. Yes, the Midwest made gambling normal for everyone because the state of Iowa wanted money. Everybody wants money. We're going to get back to Iowa. In 1620, Francis Bacon wrote that it is the peculiar and the perpetual error of human intellect to be more moved and excited by affirmatives than by negatives. Yes, what he was saying is we remember the wins and forget the total amount of losses. Same mindset for banks in the stock market. From 1900 to 1929, the Bank of the United States underwrote corporate stocks, artificially inflating the market. Then the crash of 1929, wealth evaporated, gone like the wind. Some laws were passed to change the environment, regulation enacted to stabilize the banking industry. Then in the 1980s, certain banking laws were changing back to the old ways, slowly removing regulation. Eventually in 1999, a law was passed where banking, insurance, and investment industries could be combined. Then another huge, devastating crash in 2008. Again, wealth evaporated. Another bailout, new laws created to stabilize the environment. Cycle continues. In 1990, the average holding period of a stock trading on the New York Stock Exchange was 26 months. In 2017, it was less than 9 months. You see, the mindset was changing in America and the world. Gambling is now part of everyday life. Corporations and people were dreaming of being rich, having money, so they turned to gambling. Some call it investing. Use whatever word feels right. Returning to the topic of gambling. There were lotteries in Puerto Rico in 1934, New Hampshire in 1964, and in the East Coast states, New York, Maine, New Jersey, and Vermont introduced lotteries in the 70s. Once states started to look for revenue, they first looked at sin tax, like cigarettes and alcohol. They needed more money, and they found gambling, because taxes like property taxes were frowned upon. So let's talk about Iowa and the U.S. Iowa sold tickets to their first state lottery on August 22nd, 1985. The first combined state lottery was New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont in 1985. Then we introduced Powerball. Guess what? It's headquartered in Iowa. In the last 30 years, states have passed more and more laws to condone gambling. Currently, we have 45 states with lotteries, 18 states with casinos, 35 states with horse tracks, 11 states with sports betting. Tax gambling is what the politicians say. Usually, states lie about gambling. Say gambling money that is collected will go to education to help the students. What a novel idea, so generous. Well, that money does go to education, but the previous money going to education came from the general fund. It goes somewhere else. So instead of increasing the education budget so we can build more schools, pay teachers higher salaries, and buy more equipment for the schools, it doesn't happen because there is no extra money. The same amount is used by the states to fund schools, so children and teachers lose out. But we have gambling now. Yay. States send the wrong message. Use public dollars to promote gambling. States do not do this with other vices or addictions. Sad. Our public officials don't get it. They only see revenue. Fact. Gambling addiction is more severe because the suicide rate is 6 times higher than other addictions. In a speech by Jesse Jones, he said this in 1937 at the Oil World Exposition. Whatever the cause, we should all realize that it is better to make money by working for it than by betting on the rising and falling figures of the ticker tape or which horse can run the fastest. Well, government isn't alone. Let's look at media now. We have newspapers, ESPN, sports shows on radio and television. They're constantly talking about the games and the totals and who to bet on and fantasy sports. There's a show on ESPN called Bad Bets, how someone lost a bet in the last seconds of a game. Oh, boo-hoo. Guess what? Someone just got lucky. Maybe the show should be called Lucky Bastards. Then you have the announcers talk about how the line is going to please the home crowd. Is the home crowd going to be happy? Especially if it's a big line and the head coach has to keep on scoring. The nightly news is also there. They always show the lottery numbers, the pick 3 numbers, Mega Millions, Powerball, all during the news. May 14th, 2018, the United States Supreme Court cleared the way for individual states to legalize sports betting. The NBA has publicly supported legalization and has signed its first major casino sponsorship deal. Now, all major sports will eventually be tied to gambling. Prop betting, which is gambling on everything and anything, takes the fun away from the sport, the competition, makes everything about money. Gambling is everywhere and supported by government, media, financial institutions, online. It is now in our culture, telling everyone it is okay to gamble. Never talking about the dangers. Now, gamblers will talk about their system, that they borrowed money. We know it won't get paid back. That they are due. That they finally learned how to win. That they had to pay their dues. All lies. If you continue to gamble, you will lose. How much depends on how compulsive you are and how many ways you can access money. Lines of credit, credit cards, trust funds, and savings accounts. Funny thing, gambling is about escape. Tapping into the reward center in our brain. Compulsive gambling is the need to be in action. The high is chasing and making the bet. Compulsive gambling has nothing to do with money. Unfortunately, savings, jobs, theft, and embezzlement are lost because of the need to acquire money. Most compulsive gamblers act immaturely and are emotionally insecure. Gamblers dream of winning enough money to take care of loved ones. Sadly, they never get the money. Since gambling is a fantasy, winning the lottery is a fantasy, the life of a compulsive gambler is a fantasy. Compulsive gamblers go through 3 phases: the winning phase, the losing phase, and the desperation phase. Unfortunately, the family also goes through 3 phases: the denial phase, the stress phase, the exhaustion phase. So how does one become a compulsive gambler? Well, many psychologists have their theories on this. I'm going to talk about 2. One is Sigmund Freud. He related compulsive gambling to compulsive masturbation. The second one, Ernest Simmel, described the compulsive gambler as a person who feels himself to be deprived, a person who feels that he was denied parental love and attention and the other good things of life. Thing is, each child is different. The fact is, no one knows exactly what causes it. Genetics, environment, all play a part. No parent is perfect. Most parents do the best they can. Now, compulsive gambling has 3 basic emotional needs. 1, affection and approval. Everybody wants to be wanted and liked. 2, recognition, to be regarded as a person of worth. 3, confidence in one's ability to deal effectively with life's problems and to garner its rewards. So check yourself. Did you receive enough affection and approval as a child? Are you getting it now? Are you respected then and now? How confident are you in your life? Self-esteem, self-worth, self-value. How good are you about telling yourself that you love yourself and that you will take care of yourself? J. Edgar Hoover in 1951 said this: "Organized gambling is a vicious evil. It corrupts our youths and blitzes the lives of adults. It becomes the springboard for other crimes, embezzlement, robbery, and even murder." Now, Hoover was talking about the mafia. I wonder what he would say about governments, banks, financial institutions, public corporations, all engaged in legalized, condoned gambling. What do you think? Where does it lead people? I believe in motivational posters. I have them all over my office. Years ago, I asked my dad to pick out a poster to hang over his desk. He chose Risk. It was a picture of a wooden ship with a large mast and 3 big white sails. And it's sitting on blue water and shallow water in the harbor. And the caption says, "Ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what they're made for." Life is a risk. If you want a full life, you need to risk. You need to gamble. Gambling is a strong word because it entails taking a risk. Life is a gamble, life is a risk, life is accomplishment, life is failure. What are everyday gambles and risks? Well, we gamble in love. We gamble with money and investments. We gamble with religion. We gamble with jobs and career. We are constantly gambling. Gambling, the word, should not be repulsive. It is life. So, go out, gamble correctly. Understand the difference between good gambling and bad gambling. There is a way to gamble, risk, and win. So be smart, know yourself, achieve your dreams, dream big, risk, and gamble on yourself. Life is wonderful.